Hey everybody, and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program RP-0. We're starting off this Twitch recap episode out at Jupiter, where we are rejoining our Jasper 4.5 mission. This is supposed to be, well, originally, this was supposed to Aero capture at Jupiter's atmosphere and then possibly return back to Earth with a bunch of samples. However, we went way over budget on a lot of fuel, and the Aero capture did not go very well. So here it is, just stuck in orbit. So we were going to burn for broke and try to get this thing in as low of an orbit around Jupiter as we could, and just use it as a comms relay, and maybe as a better opportunity to get more science from the upper parts of the Jovian atmosphere. Unfortunately, I forgot to shut down a number of the avionics cores on this vessel before leading into this braking burn that would have just depleted all of our fuel. And so while there was enough electric charge to operate the thing and keep it running, I guess, there was not enough to ignite our main engine, that AJ10 118K. So we're gonna have to take a lap. There's nothing we can do. I'm not gonna sit here and hold the RCS thrusters on for literally hours while we do a really inefficient and terrible braking pass. So we're just gonna give this thing an extra like 500 days or something like that to come around again, and hopefully I won't screw it up because I took the time and shut down the accessory cores that we aren't going to be using, and so hopefully next time we'll come back and we'll actually have a fully charged battery. So we'll set an alarm for that and move swiftly along, where we are back home at Earth and out on the launch pad with our SKS Heavy, the Kerbal'd Orbital Laboratory that we are going to be launching for the pure benefit of generating money. This will fulfill a 3 Kerbal to low Earth orbit contract, as well as get us some hopefully nice paydays on radioing in a bunch of science. But for some of this, since it didn't go very well, I'll turn you over to old me. Alright, time for roll maneuver. Whoa! Sweetie does not like roll maneuver. I am hitting the correct keys. I had to verify this because I was not certain. Whoa, buddy. Come on now. Roll, not... Yeah, okay. There it is. Alright, let's just lean back and go. Whoa. Sweet peas. What are you doing? I need this view, because... Hello. Someone is not very happy with our flight plan today, but then again, we hired an astronaut off the street and stuck him behind the flight stick of the most expensive vehicle in our crewable arsenal, so I guess we should not be surprised by this. We should also be a little bit deeper into this gravity turn. We're just not on a very good heading either, so, wow. It's behaving like it's very much off balance. Yet and still, you should not be off balance, as roll should not be causing that kind of yaw. Okay, I'm very sorry, chat. This is kind of disturbing and not cooperating even in the slightest. Any input just kinda cause it to shock right and roll around the opposite way in which I am commanding. So I'm having a lot of trouble keeping this thing dialed in and stable. I guess maybe it's just fighting me because it wants to be in that prograde window, which we'll take that. But we need to get over the poles, which means we need a bit more of this northern slant, you know what I mean? So we'll try to correct for that when we're a little higher in the atmosphere. I'm getting real sick of fighting this, to be very honest with you. This is a lot more off-centered than I wanted to be. Alright, let's It's just like FSX Steam Edition, and we provide the snacks. It goes north instead of south. It's totally a range safety violation, but we can't piss off Cuba. New Jersey, on the other hand, whatever. Literally never attempted an off-eastbound launch with this thing, so I have no idea what to expect. Check gimbal limits. The shuttle's about to be pulled over. Driving, I mean, at this point, we're going to be pretty lucky to hit a polar biome, to be real honest with you. We need to be on the other side of the northern indicator. Or do we? No, we're shifting the correct direction. It's been a good long while since I did this, although I would like more pitch up. Although we are coming up on booster steps, so we'll lean it back a bit more. But now that we're clear of most of the atmosphere, it's behaving a lot better. This is a lot easier to control. That bit of hairiness behind us, we can actually start to level this in and perform a much closer to normal ascent profile. The boosters and the third EFT engine are down and away, clear of the vessel, and bound for what appears to be Virginia. We can only assume. Sorry, Virginia. At least they're not full of toxic propellants. We should have launched south. What's the general consensus here? We really should have launched south. So we'll complete our belly roll and then try to maintain a decent AOA above horizon, which is exactly not what this is, but I was paying more attention to our relationship with going north than I was with our time to apoapsis, or even our altitude at apoapsis. As I'm sure I mentioned very early on, this was the first time I've flown a shuttle, especially this one, in quite a long time. So these skills do get rusty if you don't use them a lot, and I'm just at this constant state of being very rusty at this game and all the minutia of fine details in it. So finally I did realize that we were not going to go to space today and decided to just tail stand this thing for a good long while, because we have already started to fall back to Earth, coming down just above 150 kilometers, I think, was where we kind of topped out our altitude there. And that's not enough, really. I mean, it's enough to get to space, but not enough to stay there, really, considering our TWR and our burn time, and certainly not enough to fulfill our 3 Kerbal to low Earth orbit contract that is funding this entire thing, and hopefully we'll be funding quite a bit of research, or at least construction of our next phase of Mars launches in the hopefully very near future. We're still kind of relying on our cash cow that is the Ostrich station in low Venus orbit to transmit home about 50 grand every couple of days, every 10 days or so, really. It'd be nice to have a second such farm. And of course, when we get the crew that is on its way to Mars, docked with Harmonia Station, hopefully they can start farming some things in as well while we wait for the rest of the Mars surface program to kind of catch up with them and that crew. We are relying a lot on being able to get a lot of things built in time for the next window. No pressure, but back to our shuttle friend here. We were able to start climbing it in altitude and maintain a decent angle without sacrificing too much delta V, of which we have in spades. So a second tragedy of this launch pretty much averted. As we cross over the Great Lakes, I will hand you back over to Old Me for live coverage. I mean, we're not going to increase it beyond what our current altitude is, so that's kind of pointless. We're going to have to do this all on OMS. I'm pretty sure. Shutting down 277, that puts us within tolerance. Yeah, below 350, but we got to get our periapsis above 200. Not a big deal. So how long till our apoapsis? 22 minutes. Post MECO shutdown. Go ahead and separate off the EFT and toggle in OMS. Let's plot our node here. Add maneuver. Really, I just need this for timing's sake, not much else. Yeah, 164. That's probably way too much. Yeah, 591. We don't need to go nearly that high. No, I don't want to add a maneuver. 418, still too high. We'll just do it manually. Keep everything locked in just in case. All right. You don't need high TWR on orbit. Orbit burn takes 5 minutes. It's fine. Big engines are big mass wastage. True. Bye-bye, EFT. It was nice to see you. Now, usually electric charges up here. That caused a couple of seconds of absolute sheer panic. $12, $11, $10. There's the poles. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. Let's just go ahead and lock it in. RCS to arm. RCS to arm. Ironic that this would be the best orbital insertion I've ever done on one of your designs, Wookie, because it was pure panic the entire way up. Just pure panic. Well, half a degree off from target on our inclination. That's not bad. So our eccentricity has to be within something. Really, we're just going to shoot for 270. Alright, let's Ullage the AJ-10s. Very stable. Good. And yeah, we have no autopilot assists. Holding the node quite silly. It's a miracle we have stability control with this rookie crew. Or maybe we just haven't had enough time to corrupt them with our terrible methods and practices so that they're actually better at their job than our regular crews. Don't give anyone the telemetry sheet. Oh yeah, like never. Get a warrant. So our contract here does specify that we have to have a eccentricity within a certain range. And although I'm fairly certain we are within that range currently, we'll just make a quick check of the contract, which is telling us that 294 by 255 is not in orbit. Periapsis above 200,000 meters, which we are absolutely above 200,000 meters, but KSP has just not recognized that. I figured this would probably take a F5 and F9 to solve, but we'll get around to that. Really, I had intended on leaving this in orbit and coming back to it later anyway, and crew has lots and lots of life support to depend on, so I'm in no rush to complete the contract, or at least meet that bit of the contract requirement, because we still have to bring them home and land them first. So we'll start to get our science things deployed, including this absolutely ridiculous comms array, which we are totally not using to listen to your phone calls, or read your emails, or intercept anything. See, it's pointed away from Earth, it's completely harmless. So we are going to start biome hopping, biome tracking, so that we can radio in all the science. Now, most of the individual payouts here, not that big. And really, for each of the values listed here on the, the science screen, or, the report, we're going to get about 10% of that, and the other 90% is converted into funds times 1,000, which is kind of how we're funding our space program currently. So there will be a lot of radioing things in. But the big payout here is to run things through the laboratory. So our crew of 4 scientists, mostly rookies, are going to be transferred into their 2 respective laboratories, and we're going to start loading them up with data to science the hell out of or something. So apparently I missed one of these radio in calls, or the screen disappeared because time warp, or one of the many other intricacies of Kerbal Space Program that I just don't quite understand. But we had to go through manually and transfer a bunch of stuff into the lab. And so I think we hit the poles biome. Now we're over highlands, or skipping between highlands and grasslands. And I do want to keep a monitor on how much of this data is going into what lab, because we don't really get a say on which one it goes to, and it doesn't really look like it's giving much priority to one or the other. But they both have less than 200 data points out of an available 750, and they'll fill up eventually with 500 science. If we can get them both full, that radio in will be almost 100 grand, which would be great. But at the rate they're researching things, because, well, the data point values are so low, might take a good long while for them to achieve that goal. And it also would seem that, unfortunately, these labs draw a lot of power, or at least maybe our scientific experiments draw a lot of power. Oh, now we're hitting the poles. My mistake. I guess highlands were somewhere above Canada. This would be... I'm not sure if we're at the North or the South Pole. I'm going to be real honest with you on that fact right now. Our data point values are pretty low, so it's going to take a while to actually fill up these labs, and it will take even longer for the very rookie crew on board to get all of their research done. And while we are treated to some extraordinarily lovely eye candy here as we cross back over Mexico, that would have made that last pole visit the South Pole, we'll start trying to grab as much from every biome as we can, radioing in what can't go to a lab, taking home what can't, well, that won't do either, and making sure that we're getting a sample of all data into one of these laboratories, if not both. I'm really not sure how this science transfer thing works, because each module can only contain one, I guess, report type for each biome per experiment. But since we have 2 labs, could we get a copy of each into both of them? Not 100% sure. Also, the handy dandy Infernal Robotics solar array that we have on here is just ever so slightly not quite enough to power all of these things. So we are going to kick on the fuel cells. That will help mitigate things, but considering the duration that this crew is going to have to be on station, it might not be quite enough. And with all of these radio ins, all this transmitting, you can see our power consumption goes way, way, way up. Especially with all the the undersized signals intelligence satellite, the comms dish, chews up a lot of power when you run that report. Now, I think thankfully it is hemispheric, so per planet you can only get northern and southern hemisphere science from it, but and it cannot be processed by the laboratory for whatever reason. It is ineligible to go to the lab, so we just had to radio those straight in. But I think we're done running that experiment. Next time out we'll probably fold the array back in, although gathering science through action groups means every time we press the button it'll just redeploy, so not much point in that after all. Anyway, we're going to leave that crew in orbit for a good long while and let them do their sciencey things. And since they were able to generate a good bit of money for us, we're just going to take one last test flight with our drop pod before I start finalizing versions and doing integrations onto launch vehicles. Now, this, again, is the Aero shell. It is kind of copied over from, well, all of the drop pods for the M97 base core, the science rover, supply rover will all use the exact same Aero shell and the exact same parachute timing and everything to get to Mars. I'm just making small iterations while I test things out to figure out what the best design for that Aero shell is. Now, this one has the Science Lab rover contained within it, so this is actually the lightest module of the entire assembly. I think grand total, fully fueled with the Aero shell, the whole assembly comes in at like 110 tons or something along those lines, whereas the lab crawler itself is, I want to say, by at least 10 tons, the lightest module that we are attempting to land. Now, I want to be able to obviously target these landings to reduce the drive time between modules, so we're going to just have a look at Mech Jeb's landing guidance window and set our periapsis at negative so that we can come screaming down through the atmosphere at extremely high speeds and try to use that indicator from Mech Jeb to help dial in our landing. Now, this is really just kind of a cross-range test. I'm putting exactly 0 effort in actually trying to land on the designated spot. I just want to see the difference between where we put the X and where we end up if we follow our previously established procedure, which was really kind of built around using somewhere between 60 and 70 kilometers as your deorbit periapsis, so that we could maximize our glide time in the atmosphere and get as much time generating lift and postponing our inevitable landing as possible to kind of take the stress off the landing engines. We're coming into this experiment with way more fuel than we would actually have. I know I mentioned that on previous tests, but that main engine on the bottom is also going to aid with targeting, plane change adjustment, and possibly orbital insertion. The bulk of orbital insertion will be done on the back of a heat shield, but it's nice to have that engine there just in case we're a little too heavy and we don't actually capture. So the problem with setting our periapsis negative is that we fall a lot faster, and we come into this part of the atmosphere where we get enough atmospheric drag to where the RCS thrusters are just kind of overwhelmed and can't maintain that high AOA as long as we need it to generate enough lift to slow us down. See, we're already down to about 40 kilometers and still cooking at about 3.2 kilometers per second, which is far above threshold. But anyway, let me turn you over to old me. Whoa, 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 whoa. Things are breaking. Why are things breaking? Oh, we lost some thrusters due to, guess what? Yeah, aerodynamic stress. What are we at? 26, 25, and falling fast. Let's light the engines before we lose all of our thrusters. Yeah, we'll be at 10 kilometers by the time those things spool up. Jesus. Why is the plume all screwy again? Are we in physics warp? No? Okay. Now we're going to get some spin. That's cool. This is a really bad idea. Aero failure. I know. What Aero? You have to have an atmosphere to have Aero failures. And now a delightful bit of spin. We're just going to burn this for broke because it's all we really can do. Maybe try to push the angle up. If we could only not be rolling like crazy, that would be cool. But our engine lacks a gimbal, so, you know, there's that. Oh, come on, come on, come on. This is a really bad descent plan. And really not... Oh, God. And not being able to descend like this is going to make targeted landings very, very, very interesting. 1,800 meters per second. Chutes are now in the caution, coming up on 15 kilometers, 300 meters per second left to displace. If you could please just angle it up, buy us a little more time. We're just going to go ahead and run these dry. We don't have many other options. We're about to pop our first set of chutes. Look at that TWR, though. Arms are mained, yeah? Arms are mained. Mains are armed. Yeah, we'll just, I would say, where are our parachutes, please? We can probably ditch the lower. Make those chutes a little bit more effective. Ditch the lower. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, I left it throttled up, so we fired the engines. Clank. Looks like all the primary bits are still intact. And keep the engines burning. All the world is turning. We did light this fire. Alright, 5 kilometers. We're to separate the upper. Ditch all of it? Yeah, true. 1 kilometer made you look. Oh, come on. Dang it. Still slowing down now. Now we're picking up speed. So, alright. Ditch the upper. Primaries are out. That might actually land safely. There we go. Oof. Yes, we're going to leave the bags in. Because they're, generally speaking, a terrible, terrible idea. And we should probably pull them off. Alright, I'm sorry. Cosmo, are you okay? Yeah, no, I'm not. I'm all messed up today. What do you mean is that all the fuel I'm supposed to have? Okay, good. We do have all 4 engines. On this terminal descent stage, no, I did not short the fuel on this tank yet. I think we'll be alright. This is easier to land than the supply pod because this is actually the lightest module. Oh yeah, it is. It's supposed to be just like a platform with small tanks in it. And if it explodes, it explodes. As long as the wheels don't pop, we're in generally pretty good shape. There's a bunch of things hitting the dirt. That's probably the lower shell. I wish I could see where it was hitting. That would be really fun to see. We are picking up speed, but I think we'll be alright. We're going to light these engines at a little over 1 kilometer. At the bottom of the tank, which apparently doesn't exist, was lost in the explosions. Yeah, I was concerned too because, well, the root part is the core that's inside here. These plates are attached to this top tank, and this docking port is attached to these plates. So if this bottom plate goes, this whole thing is just, it's gone, because the parachutes are up here attached to, oh god, 900 meters. Come on. No. I screwed it up. I botched this one. We fell too fast, and now we're going to crash and die. I always walk into these things thinking, if I can get a successful landing, that would be nice to see for a change. And then I always do something to screw it up. We'll just pop out the crash bags, because we are going to hit the ground a little fast. Come on. Get that speed down. Come on, you can do it. 200 meters. Fight it. Come on. Sub 5. Let's do this. 200 meters. Sub 5, let's go sub 4. Sub 4. 150 meters. Let's find a center. Sub 3. Oh god, no. What? Oh, I throttled down. Wow, that was the worst time to hit the wrong button. Holy crap. It's like I can't not screw up. How did... How? We're on the ground. I thought the eggs were deflated, but apparently not. Jaguar snuck aboard again, I'm just now noticing. Decouple node. Clunk. Hooah! Yes, that's what I wanted to switch to. Bounce, bounce, bounce. Clank. And holy crap. Of all the times I really thought I wasn't actually going to get a successful landing out of it, here we go. Huh. Alright, well, we're missing all of our comms equipment that should be here, but doesn't matter. We've got redundancies here. The solar panels made it. That's cool. I guess I missed the click on that first one. These aren't actually solar panels, they're just sunshades for that set of windows. So, you know, that's that. But so this is the lightest module and therefore the easiest to land. So not surprised that we just kind of like magically pulled it off, because this is the one that responds the best to anything and everything. Oh yeah, how far off of our landing site are we? Oh wow. That far. That's crazy. That's legit crazy. But hey, you know, that's that might be screen cap worthy. And with the conclusion of what had absolutely no right to be such a successful test, I think that's what's going to do it for this one, everyone. Thank you so much for hanging out. I really do appreciate it. And I will see all of you in the next one. So until then, see you later.